What is going on, everybody? It's Jay, aka It's Summer Story here, back with another Banner Parade showcase video featuring Saber to Melt Satoru Gojo. And this is a very, very simple video for me to make because it's just, we got 3 support skills and 1 taijutsu skill. Like, there's not really a lot for us to really talk about in, like, I guess you could say the pre-game to the actual showcase. So we could just kind of dive into the kit, then dive into the tower showcase, and then the final unit review, because this unit will kind of just show you how cracked he is. That's really it. So skill 1 is Can You Keep Up? It's a taijutsu skill. It hits 4 times. It boosts the crit rate for yellow allies, and it also boosts the damage dealt for allies as well for 5 turns. So this is a special effect. This is also a special effect. Now in this video, you will not see me use this skill at all, and you will understand when you actually watch the clears, because there's just other things to prioritize. Next is Taste of Summer, which gives Gojo 220 ultimate gauge, and on top of that boosts his ultimate gauge fill rate for 3 turns. Basically, his key game plan to start out matches with, I say matches, like floors, sweep, whatever with, right? Because his main game plan is to spam out ult as much as possible to keep him in the fight. On top of that, he also gives 10 curse energy to yellow allies, so he also works as like a miniature CE battery at the start of fights. And I've also noticed that I have brought yellow Kaido way less to fights now because of this guy. That 10 CE at the start is kind of just enough to keep the general DPS for yellow rolling. Next is Fiery Instruction, which is a 50% stat buff for 4 turns, so a 200% peak stat buff on top of a HP recovery. 200% is very, very good for 4 turns, and basically at the cost of nothing at all to keep it up. So you'll basically have your stat buffs rolling 24/7 on this character. Oh yeah, and another thing to take note is that Taste of Summer is available after 6 turns after using it once. So keep that in mind. Also, we finally have his ultimate, which is Take 5, which in stereotypical fashion is also another buff skill with stat buffing and damage dealt. So the reason why I kind of avoid using skill 1 is because, inevitably speaking, we're going to get that damage dealt for 5 turns anyway, just straight up out of his ultimate, and I might as well just keep this going since it's the higher stat buff, and our main goal with this unit is to ult loop. So we're trying to spam out the ultimate as much as possible in between this like 5 turn period. And obviously it extends his emergency status by 3 turns, so keeping him in the fight for as long as possible. Next we have his Limitless Curse technique. Obviously applies attack nullification to himself, which is really good for floor 90, for example, because Mahito will love to headbutt this guy a lot with his Idle Transfiguration, and it won't do anything, so it'll save you so much. And then his emergency passive, which is a lot better than I initially thought it would be. So obviously he has 8 turns when he pulls up into the fight. A little negative is that he can't apply draw attack to himself, so it's not possible. Don't bring that type of wreck bit on him. The devs know that you would try to cheese floor 90 if you could. But the main thing about the emergency mechanic that's interesting is that when he leaves the fight, he does give stat buffs and damage dealt buffs to a certain percentage threshold depending on how long Gojo's been in the fight. So if Gojo's been in the fight for at least 12 turns, he will give you the max buff of 50% stat buffs and 30% damage dealt increase when he leaves the fight, which again is really, really good. And you will see it actually during this clear. Well, not during this clear, but during this video on our floor 90 clear. So you can kind of see like how decent these buffs are when he leaves the fight and he's not actively slamming down that skill 3 24/7. But all in all, Gojo kind of trivialized content even at A0. We'll just dive into the tower showcases immediately. Okay, so for the floor 84 run, I took the heaviest amount of inspiration possible from my 14 turn clear that I uploaded on the channel a fair bit ago using Kusakabe. And basically no Kaido setup. We didn't bring Kaido to start with CE, so we didn't have to, I guess you could say, waste some turns The biggest benefit to bringing Gojo in this scenario is that the little frog kind of just becomes a non-factor. Because of the fact that we're already spending cursed energy just straight out the gate instead of waiting for Kaido, the little frog actually just targets Gojo because Gojo will have the most cursed energy out on the team. So we flat out just have a way to counter probably the most, I would say probably the most annoying gimmick of this floor, which is the CE drain. The stuns are rather annoying, but once you get the little frog out of the way, none of this really matters at all. I will say, like, look at that, boom, guard, does not matter whatsoever. And then we're going to get our ults out. Well, the first ult out on turn 5 with Yuji and Yaga, and then we'll get Gojo and Shoko out on turn 6 because the strategy is ult loops. Y'all know it's my favorite strategy, double Black Flash skill 1 on Yuji. This is how I knew it was the run, even if we're just using A0 Gojo. And obviously, in typical 484 fashion, there still is that RNG factor that when the Big Frog's ultimate drops, you may have to eat a fat stun. Now, obviously, since Gojo has Limitless, right, he doesn't get affected by that. However, obviously, if Yuji gets hit by the stun, it's really bad because we're on his main damage rotation. And considering the fact that he is the main DPS and the only one reasonably doing the heavy lifting for the actual fight, if he gets stunned, the run kind of extends by, I would say, an extra 4 turns, I would say. Because I did 2 clears. I did one that was 18 turns, which involved Yuji getting stunned, which was terrible. And this one, which is 12 turns, where Yuji didn't get stunned. So we got the ult coming in. And because Shoko and Gojo both have CE-based combo ult effects, obviously Gojo's CE is going to shoot up, but Shoko basically has like an infinite curse energy generator as well working with Gojo. And again, because this is 484, that mini frog will always target Gojo. So you never have to worry about that annoying CE drain mechanic as long as he's on the field. And if you're just constantly bouncing back and forth in terms of using your combo ults, you will literally never have to worry about Gojo leaving in the first place. Especially if you're just kind of like chewing through everything. Also, that little secret animation with the brain freeze, I heard a lot of people say that like the brain freeze animation only happens if you have him A3. But I saw that was indeed not the case. A0 also has that animation. Kind of glad that they didn't gatekeep that little secret animation to an awakening. But this run literally only has 4 more turns in it. Like, we do a monstrous amount of damage in this little cycle right here. And obviously, we'll still get 1 extra combo all out with Gojo and Shoko in between. How much does Yuji drop right here? No rec bit. 12 mil. And again, this is with A0 Gojo. This was extremely impressive to me. We wait 1 more turn, and then we just lay down the law, rip that break bar in half. Yaga with the crit, because in order for you to have proper ult loops, Yaga also has to crit. Keep that in mind. Alongside Yuji needing to Black Flash very, very often. Not even just for the ult loops, because obviously it's connected to its rec bit, but because, again, you want to chew through that break bar. You don't want to give that boss an opportunity to be able to kind of lay down those bounce attacks to stun your team. And I imagine, I mean, we chewed through majority of that break bar with relative ease in like the first rotation. I can imagine how much that will change when this unit gets to A3. Now Yaga gets ult here, and then Yuji's just gonna, again, lay down the law. No Black Flash though. Tragic, tragic, tragic. But we still had enough ult gauge build up to do another combo ult. So you'll notice that Gojo's damage dealt buffs that also accompany his stat buffs during his ultimate, it's just enough to where you really don't have to worry about a damage buffer being included into the team. You're just fine running Gojo to occupy that stat buffing and damage dealt spot, even if the damage dealt spot is only 30%. 30% for 5 turns, it's okay. And then here, we got the end of the 484 clear, and Yuji's gonna lay down the law, as per usual. You know it's my GOAT Zonji. Y'all know I love Zonji. And that's 12 turns. So we're gonna transition over to the floor 90 clear, and y'all know how much I hate floor 90. So I'm gonna kind of try and give my general commentary on the run, and I'll try and discuss how I view doing A0 floor 90, because it was rather interesting, because I'm not a big fan of the floor. I don't like speed clearing the floor. I just don't even like playing it in the first place. But for the sake of the showcase, I did it for y'all, the people. So let's just dive straight into 90. Okay, so for floor 90, y'all know how much I hate this floor. I despise it with every fiber of my being. Throwback to the original Yuta showcase and the Urame showcase, not a fan of it. However, I will say that GOJO made this a tidbit easier, alright? Because I'm not really looking to do like super fast speed clears when I'm on 90. When I'm on 90, I'm just looking to pass it, really. That's all I'm looking for, is just to be able to pass it. And GOJO made it way easier, because one of the core issues I have with 90 is that you're kind of just min-maxing a lot of things. You're basically min-maxing your survivability, and min-maxing your survivability kind of leads to you sacrificing a lot of damage, which leads to you spending a lot of turns doing the fight. Now, I tried to replicate my original Yuta clear on floor 90 from my Yuta showcase, where I target Jogo, circle back to Hanami, and then Mahito will just kind of fall at some point, and that was really it. And it was kind of easy because of the fact that we have GOJO and we have kind of a unit to soak up damage. We're kind of just set up without bringing any healing rec bits, except our backup unit, which is Urame, that has a healing rec bit. So we're sold to bring 2 damage-based rec bits, one on Yaga, one on Yuta, and then 2 alt gauge rec bits on GOJO and Shoko. So all in all, right, you just gotta think about it like this. GOJO is always able to keep his buffs up because he's never getting hit, right? He's never getting hit. He doesn't have to spend curse energy, really. So your buffs are always up. So in any case where a Mahito ult is approaching and he runs into GOJO, it's safe. So there's only 3 units you have to worry about for the Mahito like Doom and Despair attack. And if you get Jogo out of the way, you don't have to worry about Flame Dots, which is really, really good. And then just comes down to when is Mahito going to fall alongside Hanami, which isn't a very difficult endeavor, because despite the fact Hanami will start spamming out those, that attack that like basically nerfs how much CE you get per turn, because GOJO is combo ulting with Shoko, it doesn't matter, because Shoko has a lot of curse energy due to their combo ult effects. And then Yaga and Yuta will also keep up a decent amount of curse energy because they're combo ulting so often. Yuta refreshes CE per combo ult, and Yaga has gap turn from using CE because he's combo ulting. So all in all, a very, very solid team. And another thing that some people don't really remember, and some people do, is that when you're running this team, and because of the fact that GOJO can keep that stat buffs up the entire time, Shoko's healing stat from her skill 2 correlates to her Jujutsu stat. So because GOJO is constantly buffing their stats, every time Shoko heals, it's a full heal, no matter the unit. So it makes not bringing a healing rec bit so much easier, because since you have stat buffs up the entire time, you just look over to another unit, heal them the full, rinse and repeat. So floor 90 has been pretty much trivialized by GOJO to a certain extent, even at A0, because you have somebody to keep your stats up at all times, so you have consistent damage pouring out. You have a certified meat shield as GOJO, and all in all, you also have a CE battery for Shoko. You don't really lose in this circumstance. I mean, yeah, there may be runs where you have like some super bad luck, and I mean look at my Yuta's health bar. That's bad luck. But we basically get a full heal, just off rip, and it's phenomenal. And then Jogo is going to take an exit, and now we're on turn 8, and we just have to deal with Mahito and Hanami. And again, we have that little Little attack that reduces our curse energy buildup, but it's fine. The reason why it's fine is because, again, we have that full build from GOJO and Yaga's full health. It is a wonderful time over here. It is a wonderful time. And I will say I do make a mistake around here. I didn't really... Actually, I don't remember if I combo ulted right here with GOJO and Shoko. I don't think I did. Oh, did I? Okay, yeah, okay. I think this was one of my mistakes, I believe. Maybe I should have held it off. I'm not sure. Because GOJO does leave during this run. And I believe it was just through a pure mistake of my own. Because I had another floor 90 clear where I wasn't running like double DPS rec bits on Yaga and Yuta. I was running a healing rec bit on Yaga. And I was able to let GOJO stay for like over 20 turns. But in this run, he leaves a little bit on the early side, but we also clear a couple turns afterwards. But yeah, at this point, it kind of just becomes, okay, how quickly can we get rid of Mahito alongside Hanami? And it's also kind of hoping that Mahito doesn't get created and hit anybody that's like on the squishier side in terms of the HP department. But thankfully, like, luck was entirely on my side, and Mahito was completely infatuated with trying to hit Idle Transfiguration on GOJO. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. If I was recording live commentary, you guys would hear me celebrating with pure joy. But originally, here's the thing. Originally with this setup, I wasn't even really planning to have Yaga live like the entire time, which is kind of crazy to think about. In my head personally, I was like, if Yaga were to die, it wouldn't really affect me too much because, again, I have Urame in the back to come out to help out the team. But in the end, it wasn't Yaga that died. Yaga was a soldier this entire run. And we have another Idle Transfiguration set up. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, I still heal right here. Because I don't care how secure I am in my 490 clear strats. That Mahito Idle Transfiguration scares me. I don't even care if I have an A5 Shoko. I just don't care. The Mahito one tap comes for us all. And that was one thing that a lot of my subscribers brought up to me when they were clearing floor 90 on my Discord server. They'd be like, Mahito always targets Shoko. And trust me, when my Shoko was like A2, A1, and I were to attempt like speed clears off to the side, maybe try and get like fast 490 clears, I remember Mahito would always one-tap my Shoko on like turn 9 every time. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm a very big fan of doing this. I don't think I'm a very big fan at all. Yeah, this may have been my mistake right here. Yeah, popping that right there was definitely a mistake. But in the end, we still clear. That's what matters in my heart. Oh yeah, and this was another risky endeavor. I'm like, okay, Yaga's at low HP. We're still just going to do the combo ult. Because worst case scenario, Hanami and Mahito decide to hard target Yaga. But even if they do, we have Urame in the back. Always got to have a backup plan for runs like these. And then Yuta should get ult in this turn. No, he did not crit, but Mahito... See, I'm trying to remember this run. Yeah, Mahito just loved GOJO during this run. Yeah, keep Yuta up, because again, it's tragic. I love my boy Yaga, but we had other priorities set up at the moment. I'm sorry. Yeah, like, look at that damage. Nonetheless, still crazy work at A0. And also, like, again, Mahito was in love with GOJO. That saved the run the most. And then, oh. Yeah, I believe GOJO leaves on this turn. Like, it's crazy because when I'm watching these like little previews with you guys, the preview screen is so small. So like, I'm just looking at this little corner of what y'all are watching. I can't even see like the emergency count at the moment. The only thing I know is that the run goes on for like 2 more turns, I believe. Yeah, heavy emphasis on I believe, by the way. And then Mahito does us a great thing. Goodbye, Gojo. Goodbye, Gojo. You ate the last idol transfiguration for the culture. Excellent. And Urame comes out for 2 turns, but we get all those buffs. When Gojo leaves, we just get a fat amount of buffs. And I saved them from like, okay, we can combo all actually, because I was wondering if the run was gonna like last like a longer bit of time. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for Yaga's skill 1, and then when we combo all, Yaga will also get that curse energy back from combo ulting with Shoko. But because Gojo's buffs were still so strong even after he left, and alongside the fact the emergency mechanic, he gives buffs upon leaving, and we had his peak buffs as well because he was out for longer than 12 turns. We simply cleared just 2 turns afterwards. And that's floor 90, 19 turns with A0 Gojo. Put a smile on my face. Like, Yaga's damage was kind of crazy right there. But, yeah, we're going to end this front right here. And I'm going to go into the final A0 unit review. It'll be very brief. There's not really much to say about this unit outside of just he does what he does. So, let's just hop into that final unit review. All right, we're going to try and speed through this A0 unit review. And what can I say? He's a phenomenal unit. You can't get hit. You know what I'm saying? He supplies a crazy amount of stat buffs. He applies damage dealt buffs. He's able to ult loop very, very, very efficiently, which him ult looping just keeps your buffs up to an even higher degree. So it's phenomenal. Even if he does leave the fight, he's still buffing your team upon leaving. So he's still doing some pretty decent carry work when he leaves. He's also a little bit of a CE battery at the start of fights. You don't have to worry about cursed energy. You don't have to worry about healing him. It's just, he's a safety net. He really is. And nobody would ever really have an issue if they just had this guy on their box. Like, I'll be honest, is Gojo a necessity to clear content? No. By no means is he a necessity whatsoever. Does he make content just really, really, really easy? Yes, he does. But it's not a necessity. He is a pretty crazy unit at A0, though. I'll give him that. All in all, he's a net positive, even at A0. The SPs, I mean, we'll obviously be making separate videos on A1 and A3, but as an A0 unit standing alone, I mean, the average support in the game should be able to stand alone at A0. Obviously, it's more optimal to have supports at A2 for that plus 10 CE, but because this is a Gojo unit, that also kind of just doesn't matter at all. So, he's a perfectly fine unit. Smack him with an alt gauge rec bit of your choosing. I mean, obviously in this video, I used Unity from top to bottom on Gojo and like time as is on Shoko, and it worked perfectly for me. But obviously you can use other alt gauge rec bits on this guy and still get the same benefit. But that's really it. There's not much to say about this unit besides the fact that he is just him at A0 and he makes everyone else great. And he works well with Shoko, who is now on standard banner. So this is a perfect situation altogether. You get a unit who has a combo ult effect that gives cursed energy, and he works with Shoko, who also has a combo ult that gives cursed energy. And Shoko also has a ult that gives ult gauge, which helps this unit get his ult out more often, which keeps him in the fight longer, which keeps your buffs rolling. There's no negative. There is no negative. And the crazy thing is that he only gets better with more awakenings. But you don't need those awakenings. He's still just solid as what he is. And I feel like that's the gift of just being a support unit. All right, you're just kind of cracked as is on the field. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord server. It's in the channel bio. We're on the road. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers. We hit 2.5K very recently, so I'm very appreciative of that. But yeah, sub up to the channel. We're trying to hit 3K. But most importantly, it's been Jay, aka it's Feet Joe story here. And I will see you guys Later.